I'm Dr. Matthew Sharps for The World of the Mind, a video series on the human mind, the human brain, and what happens when that mind and brain starts interacting with the world around it. Now, there are a variety of ways of interacting with the world around you. If you see a cute little animal, well, you could feed it some nice animal food or you could stomp on it, all right? Now, the one seems good, the other seems evil. But good and evil are very interesting concepts because to recognize them, you have to be using your mind. Many colleagues I have don't recognize the concept of good or evil at all. Speaking as a forensic cognitive scientist of cognitive psychology, of course, being the study of thinking, memory, and language, and I've worked as an investigative psychologist on a number of cases. Yeah, I have no problem really recognizing evil myself, but isn't that interesting that your perspective seems to change what you think of as good and evil? That's an interesting problem, isn't it? Because if you stomp on the cute little squirrel, you're evil, and if you give him some peanuts, you're good. But has it always been that way? When you look, for example, at the Bible, you find some people in the Old Testament who are good, but they're doing very awful things to other people. Now, what's going on there? In the very ancient world, ideas of good and evil were quite different. Good meant there was order. And if what I'm doing, no matter how painful it may be, it creates good order, as long as we're on top, that's good. Okay. And we see that in various civilizations. The Persian Empire, for example, good is everybody doing what they need to do, being appropriately and orderly and order or good political order with Persians on the top. Okay. If anybody else is on top, well, that's not good. But you get the general idea here. Well, but aren't these universal things? Because, again, Dr. Matthew Sharps in graduate school, I was told that humans are basically good, and it's good in the modern 20th century, at that time, 20th century, okay? A version of good, which is don't step on the squirrels, give them peanuts. Well, there's an interesting problem with that, isn't there? Because my other degree, I'm a professional psychologist, an experimental psychologist, but I do have a bachelor's degree in archaeology and anthropology, so I knew some of the stuff. And I'm going, well, just a minute, everybody didn't think the same thing. And it was amazing how angry some of my graduate faculty became. Shut up, shut up. No, good is exactly what we think it is here in the, in the late part of the 20th century. Really? This is a wonderful book by the great historian Thucydides. Okay. But the Peloponnesian War, a horrible, horrifying war. This is one grim book. Okay. Horrifying war. The Athenians against the Spartans. The Athenians, of course, that's where you get Socrates and Plato and Phidias, the great sculptor, all these, Sophocles and Aeschylus, Euripides, all the wonderful plays, whether you like Euripides or not, all the wonderful tragedies and comedies of Aristophanes. They set the tone for Western philosophy. Plato and Socrates are basically the core of all Western speculation, right? It's been suggested that all philosophy is commentary on Plato. So this is very important stuff. Now, how did they deal with the concepts of good and evil? Well, good old Thucydides here and his wonderful, it's a grim book, but it's well worth reading. Thucydides on the Peloponnesian War. The Melian Dialogue. The Athenians go to this poor little island that basically owns some fish and a couple of shiny rocks, okay? And they say, you must pay us huge tribute. And the Melians say, well, we don't have it. Well, the Athenians say, well, then we're going to pretty much kill everybody and enslave the rest of you. And the Melians say, well, why would that be a good thing? The Athenians say, because that's what we want. That's what we need. The Melians say, well, no, wouldn't it be better to have us be your friends rather than your enemies? Or we could, I guess, maybe we'd bring you some fish or something. I'm actually quite paraphrasing good old Thucydides here. But the Athenians said, well, you don't really have that much stuff we want, except we could use you for slaves, but we don't really. But wouldn't our friendship be valuable? You could use that for publicity for other people. Well, but we'd rather have them know you fear and hate us than that you love us. Your fear is more valuable to us than your love. Many, many years later, the great philosopher, poet, if you want to call him that, Niccolo Machiavelli, is going to say the same sort of thing in The Prince. And, it's interesting. The great historian William Manchester talks about Machiavelli may have been writing a satire in The Prince. He may have been saying, look how bad the world is. I don't want to deal with this anymore. He says it is better for a prince to be feared than loved. You see what an awful world that's going to create. Machiavelli may have been writing a satire, but it's been used basically as a manual by lots of people. The Melian dialogue suggests something rather awful. It suggests that good and evil have to be constructed on a regular basis. You have to decide, this is what is good, and I'm going to be nice to people. I'm not going to smash anything. I'm going to actually try to do good in the world by our standards, because perhaps there isn't anything in our brain that's from the ancient world saying, oh, this is good, this is bad. In the Melian dialogue, the Athenians prefer fear to love. And if there's a lesson in this, it is that good and evil are constructs of the mind to a great degree, and that mind needs to construct them in a way that works for what we would consider good. So don't step on the squirrels and try to be nice to people for a change. We go into much more detail on this, obviously, in our various videos of the world of the mind. I do hope you'll subscribe if you feel like it. I'm Dr. Matthew Sharps for the world of the mind.